of this Word Up Wednesday, what's your vantage point? So vantage point is the point of view, as in sight, not as in opinion. Oftentimes we hear people say that they need to climb up higher to get a better vantage point or a better point of view. We hear about the story of Zacchaeus in the Bible, where he has to climb up into a tree to be able to see. But I'd like to propose that maybe we have times where our best vantage point isn't when we go higher, but it's when we get lower. Now stay with me on this, okay? So last week I heard this song by William McDowell called On My Knees. And there aren't a whole lot of lyrics in this song, but the one or the two lines that really stuck out to me were, there are some things I can't see until I'm on my knees. And the other one is, I can see clearly now here on my knees. I'll say those again. There are some things I can't see until I'm on my knees. I can see clearly now here on my knees. That stuff stuck with me, but I wasn't exactly sure why. And then I heard a sermon on the Canaanite woman who stops Jesus when he's walking or traveling with his disciples. So I'm going to read that story to you, and then I want to kind of unpack some of what I was hearing, and then also some of the research that I did. So Matthew 15, verses 21 through 28 reads, "Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, 'Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is possessed with demons and suffering terribly.' Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came and urged him, 'Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us.' He answered, 'I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel.' The woman came and knelt before him. 'Lord, help me,' she said. He replied, 'It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs.' 'Yes, it is, Lord,' she said. 'Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table.' Then Jesus said to her, 'Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted.' And her daughter was healed at that moment." So there it was again. She knelt before him. In this story, a couple of things just really stood out, but as you guys are probably starting to figure out, when something gets in my head, I have to unpack it as much as possible. So here's what I found in my research, and I'll get back to the story in just a bit. So historically, the knee represents a place of affection and devotion. There is evidence in Egyptian sculptures, in Mesopotamia of the Middle Bronze Age, and in various scriptures that the knee symbolized a place of safety and adoption for infants. The knee was where infants and children were placed when they either were born or adopted into a family. We also know through scriptures that kneeling in front of someone is an act of reverence when petitioning someone for something. So it's acknowledging the other person's superiority. And then there are also texts that suggest that the weakness of knees was the result of fear or disease. Now, why is this context helpful? Well, for one, we have scriptures that tell us that when we are weak, God is strong. So that's number one. But number two, it's also helpful that we understand the symbolism of the woman kneeling before Jesus. So let's go back to the story. First off, the woman comes to Jesus and she asks him to heal her daughter. And Jesus did not respond. Now, I don't know about you, but there have been many times in my life where I have prayed for something and I didn't get a response. I've asked God for something and he did not respond to me. And to hear that radio silence can be so deafening sometimes. And so we would accept or expect that woman to walk away when Jesus ignores her or seemingly ignores her. And especially at that point when the disciples are like, just send her away. She won't stop chasing after us. She won't stop coming after us. So that points to the possibility that this woman didn't ask just one time. The fact that the disciples said that she keeps chasing after us kind of tells us that maybe she had been following them for some time and begging Jesus over and over and over again, and he was ignoring her the whole time. We don't know for sure, but in the context of this story, it seems as if maybe she's been around and she keeps bothering them, and the disciples assumed that Jesus was just over it. And so I'm thinking in my own life, do I have that kind of persistence? I don't know that I do. Maybe think of yourself. Do you have that kind of persistence? But here's where things really get good. Even though Jesus did not respond to her initially, or maybe even after time and time and time again, where she's asking him and asking him and asking him, eventually she comes to him and she gets on her knees. She knelt before him and she petitioned him again. Now let's remember what it means to get on your knees. What does the knee symbolize? Why was it important that they put that in the Bible, in this story? Why did Matthew mention that this woman knelt before Jesus? Because it wasn't until she told Jesus that she understood the power that he held. She understood the power that he possessed to be able to heal her daughter. It wasn't until then, till that conversation, that she knelt before him. She knelt before him, and then she told him, I understand the power that you have. You see, you have to understand the context of this story. Jesus was trying to tell this woman that he didn't come for her. He came to save the Jews. In this story, he was explaining to her that he did not come for her because she was a Canaanite woman, which means that she was a Gentile and she was not a Jew, which means that the message that he was coming to give was not meant for her. And she knelt on her knees and she told Jesus, yes, it is. It is for me because I understand the power that you have. She said, even dogs eat the crumbs from their master's table. I want some crumbs. That's what she was telling him. She didn't kneel after she said that. She knelt before. And remember the significance of being on her knees. The knees symbolize adoption into a family. The knees symbolize reverence and understanding that that person has superiority over you. She postured herself and had a better vantage point to understand who Jesus was and the power that he had to heal her daughter. And when Jesus saw that she would change her posture, that is when he responded to her. That is when he gave her what she had been asking for. How many of us need to change our posture? How many of us need to change our vantage point? How many times have you asked God for something and you did not hear from him? And so you were discouraged and you walked away. I'm here to say, maybe you need to petition in a different way. Maybe you need a better vantage point. God prompted me in 2019 to start writing in a journal, to start writing out the visions and the dreams and the goals that he has given to me. And I didn't want to do it initially. I was very disobedient. And eventually he got to me and I said, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. And so I got a sketchbook because I will not be defined by lines. And I got a sketchbook and I wrote down on New Year's Eve of 2019, I sat there and I wrote out all of these visions and these dreams and these goals, these things that I felt that I had been placed on this earth to do. But over time, I became kind of stagnant and I just didn't know that maybe if whether or not I was supposed to be doing those things. But I felt God telling me I needed to do this. And so I did. So I sat down New Year's Eve and I started writing those things out. But the basis for this vision journal was a few scriptures that God kind of led me to in the Bible. And so one of them was, we hear it all the time, in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths, or he'll make your path straight. Another one is, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And then in Habakkuk 2:2, it describes to write the vision and make it plain. And then there's a whole lot more to that scripture. And I challenge you to look that up, because a lot of people don't take the time to read Habakkuk. So in Proverbs, we hear time and time again, acknowledge God, delight yourself in the Lord. And then in Habakkuk, we see that the prophet is told to write down the vision and make it plain. And so I took those three scriptures, and my understanding of this was those desires that don't quite seem to go away, maybe they're not from me. And maybe I'm selfish to believe that they are from me. Maybe those desires and those dreams and those goals are from God. And so I wrote those things out and petitioned God for them. Essentially, my vision journal was a way of me saying, Lord, I delight myself in you, and I believe that you have implanted those desires in my heart so that you can then manifest them in my life. And I want to say to you that maybe that is what is going on in your life. Have you had a spot in your life where things have gotten radio silent? Have you had hit a spiritual wall, sort of a place where it feels like God is not responding to you? And if so, I want to petition to you that maybe in this moment, this is your chance to write the vision and make it plain. Maybe this is your chance to stop walking away, but to posture yourself and get a different vantage point and to ask God again, Lord, I want this. Be specific, be bold in your prayer. Because your faith is what will heal you. Your faith is what God is looking for. And that vantage point, the symbolism of putting your knees before the Lord, putting your knees on the ground before the Lord and posturing yourself in a way, the symbolism that says, I want to be adopted into your family, Lord. The symbolism that says, I stand in reverence to you. Yes, we like to stand with our hands outstretched and our arms open wide. That's a great symbol, and there's nothing that points to us never having to do that again. There's nothing that I'm saying that is against that at all. But what I am saying is that sometimes we do not get low enough to see clearly. And so today I challenge you to take some time. We've talked a lot about mental health in the last week. We're talking about Go Week this week. And sometimes we have a hard time going when we don't even know what we're doing when we're standing. And so instead of standing, maybe you need to kneel. So my challenge to you this week is to kneel. Kneel before the Lord. Posture yourself in the way that the Canaanite woman did in Matthew. And petition to God the bold prayer. Ask him what it is that you have been afraid to ask him for so long. And don't give up. Make sure that you are asking for the desire that has been imparted in your heart, because God gave that to you. And believe that. And watch as he manifests those things in your life.